Can you see that screen?
Yes.
I mean, these are the anatomical parts that I've basically identified as the key elements of the flow of the system. Each of them which should have a list page, of the grid, and at least one detail page. And that's essentially the sort of, functional requirements we need to, communicate. What do they care about when we get to the detail page? What do they care about when we get to the list? What are the common ways they search among the various elements to find the right application, the right deployment, the right version, etc. And those are the things. And honestly, if we don't have it, writing these and collecting these and talking to individual contributors about what their understanding is part of the design process. And that is the work. I assumed when you said you wanted me to help you design it better, that's part of the work I assumed you wanted done as part of creating a design prototype.
Yes. And like I said, like you pointed out, some of the what you have here and the objects, and like you said, these being list views and details views, that's all accounted for. The part that was evident from the last time that we talked about this is the home landing page is where we don't have any requirements on that front. Right. So what are we going to do on a home landing page when you have no data?
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing to search on. There's nothing in there. How do we make the user experience work in that front? So some of the requirements that we may have are, we need a button to say, here's a wizard or something like that. They'll walk you through a setup wizard. Or do we need a button that'll take you to a video to show you how to get started? Those type of things. I don't know what they are yet, but that's some of the things I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, in what typical ways, and I don't expect a complete answer at this stage. How typically does the initial key data come in? I mean, are there like spreadsheets? Are there data pipes that you use to populate the stuff?
Yeah, so the majority of the data gets collected from basically a plugin into their CI/CD pipeline. Okay. So their Jenkins pipeline, their GitHub Action pipeline, that is where we start collecting the data at that point.
And this plugin is documented in like GitHub pages or something?
It is in our documentation website, basically, in all the doc.
Right.
So that's like typically the first starting point. In the past, we have loaded in some sample data for people so they just wouldn't have a blank area. And we've gone back and forth on whether we should keep that or we should take that out or replace it with something more meaningful.
Okay. My suggestion would be, start blank so people don't, if for instance, if you're going to go to the plugin solution, you don't want phantom records polluting your data from your sample set.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be have a button on your home page. Have a button on your home page that says enter in some sample records with maybe a quantity number so I could play with them, and B, flag those records as having been created for sample data so that they can be house kept with one fell swoop. And also put a warning up saying your site now contains both real and sample data. Do you want to housekeep the data?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then some of the things that I've been looking at this past week is ways to passively grab that data from the pipelines without having to install the plugin. So one of the things I found on most of the repositories is the ability to subscribe to RSS feeds. So we can get notifications when there's like a new a new release or a new Docker image out there, a new Helm chart published. And with that passive notification, we may be able to go ahead and then on our own, without having to talk to the project that's creating those releases, grab their information and load it in to Ortelius. So those are some of the things that we need to look at. Has anybody else on this that worked with a RSS feed back end stuff or front end?
No.
Okay. It looks pretty simple because it looks like it's just basically they're XML files that you have a well-known URL to the XML file, and then the XML file will get updated basically in real time, and with the pages that have been updated on the site. And then from there, we can go ahead and do our processing. So that may be a way for us to hook in. The part that's missing when we go that route is we have no information about the git commit or the git data that created the releases. So there's no link between a Docker image and the git commit that triggered that Docker image to be built. There may be some roundabout ways that we can go about getting that information by looking at logs and stuff like that, but we have to take a deeper dive into that to see what we can and can't grab at that point, because that's the part that our plugin does, is it bridges the gap between the pipeline and the artifact. So it's basically the source code commit and the artifact SHA is what the plugin actually does. And that's like the most important part. That seemed to be the piece missing on that front. So I'll look at what we need to do on the RSS feed front, and also I'll see what we can do on the requirements for the homepage. If anybody has any homepage like landing pages that they like, drop them in the dev channel in Discord out there. You know, if like we've looked at like the SNCC, Artifact Hub, Docker Hub. We've looked at the was it npm search, I think is another.
PyPy was one.
Yeah, so if anybody sees, because like I was telling Dave, the tricky part is when you have no data, how's the landing page going to look on that front? So if you could poke around on some of the favorite, even like some of the Dora metric sites, there's a couple out there. What was the one? I can't remember off the top of my head, but stuff like that. You know, there's some that have you know, more of like a graphical landing page saying here's your metrics and stuff like that. But again, when we have no data, the metrics doesn't help us at that point. So that's your to-do list. If everybody could just poke around and take a look. And then Utkarsh, can you give us an update on the reusable workflow?
Yeah, so it is done for one repository. I think that is for user verification repository, and that is working fine. So as you said, we'll be rolling it to all other repositories as well. The new repositories that Arvind has created and the old ones.
Okay. Now I had a question on right now. I was looking at the way you reference the workflow is, it looks like it's the repo, then an @, then the branch or the tag.
Yeah, correct. That is a branch name, but that we can replace with the reference ID, or I think there are 3 parameters that we can use. So previously you were using the reference commit ID, right? So we can go with that approach as well.
Yeah, because that's going to be one of the things that the Dependabot wants to use is is I think we should, what we should do is tag it with like a v1.1.0 or 1.1.0.0 tag. And then, so we have that tag out there, and then use the reference ID for that tag.
Sure, that is doable. Yeah.
All right, cool. Because that way, when Dependabot comes along on that repo, that it can go through and figure out whether it needs to bump it automatically for us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, all right, cool.
And there's another update on the abstraction layer that I was working on. So that is also done.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I have so I have one couple of questions though. So one question is, you remember there was a problem when we were working on Python. So whenever if the input object has different indentation or different spacing, so they will result in a different hash code.
Right.
So while I was testing, I faced the same issue with the Golang as well. So I thought I'll ask if you are handling that in a client side, or should I handle this in the application itself?
We'll handle it on the client side.
Okay, then I don't have to make any change.
Yeah. So one of the things I found with Golang is the Golang structs are naturally sorted. So because of that, when you go ahead and marshal them to the JSON, you end up with basically assorted keys and stuff like that, from what I could tell. If that's not a case, what we may need to do is take the struct, marshal it to JSON, and then run it through a JSON key sorter, basically, like you wrote before, to get the JSON, in looking good. And then from there, we'll be able to get it consistent if we need to. But from what I could tell when I was working with it in the Golang world, all the structs in the JSON seem to be sorted pretty consistently.
Yeah, then there will be no work at my side. So moreover, what I've done, as we discussed in the last meeting, right? So I've we have if we want, we can use different NFT, what do you call NFT
Sites,
clients, different NFT clients. So today we are using NFT.storage, right?
Right.
So we can use a different providers. Okay, so we can use multiple providers, and we can make in one go, we can make transaction to all those providers. So that functionality is there today in our code.
Okay, because one of the things I found was it was interesting, is you could publish to NFT storage, and then because then you can reference it through a different URL website, because multiple sites are all looking at the Filecoin backend.
Yeah, correct. So that is basically the pinning feature. So whenever we do some commits in the NFT storage, right? So that will get pinned somewhere.
All right. Yep. Perfect. And did you have any problem with, I know we haven't implemented this yet, but we were looking at the car files. So you could submit multiple, basically NFT objects all at once.
Yeah, that is not implemented yet. We have to look at how we can implement that.
Okay. All right. So it's not gonna affect anything. It's just more of a down the road minimize transactions scenario.
Correct. That is incremental work. So that will not cause any issues or any it will not hamper the existing code.
Okay, perfect. And where is your code, so we can if you can drop a link to the repo?
Yeah, I've dropped in the channel.
Yeah. Cool. All right. All right, I'll take a look through that, and then what we'll need to do is, I can't remember if we have a repo on the Ortelius side that we'll need a, what we could do if we wanted
Yeah.
to is if we don't have one, we can just go ahead and basically create a new one and then just copy this over as the first commit. Otherwise, if we'll figure it out, the logistics behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. So basically we have to create two repositories actually, one for this abstraction layer and the other one for the ledger transaction, because that
Right.
will be written in Python, right? Because we don't have the SDK to support that in Golang.
I thought we did. I thought the XRPL had
No. You can look into their Discord channel. They don't have so some people are developing Golang SDK, but I don't know if we can rely on them because
Yeah,
that is not yet published.
because this is, if not, like you said, we could go the Python route.
Yeah.
Because I just dropped in the link to the one I've been looking at. But I don't know if it's exactly what we need.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look at this.
Like you said, it may not have all, like it may be just a small, it looks like a pretty small project.
Mm. Yeah, so if this works, so what I'll do there, like creating another microservice will not be needed, right? So I can leverage this inside the
Right.
current abstraction layer. So
Yeah, and this may or may not have enough functionality to it looking at it. I was trying to see what. Yeah, I found another. Their client libraries that they're talking about are Python, Java, JavaScript, and C++. Strange that they don't have a Golang one, but do you remember, because it may make sense to look at the JavaScript one as well, because I remember I can't remember, I thought they rolled out to JavaScript first and then to like Python, or was it the reverse?
Yeah, so they have made a lot more progress in JavaScript. At least you find more examples in JavaScript.
Yeah, so we may want to just do that microservice in JavaScript then.
Okay.
It's up to you whether we go Python or JavaScript. I know you already
The
had
code
the
is
one.
already there.
Yeah,
The code
so
is already there. So
yeah, well, let's just reuse that.
I posted
Yeah,
the link for the JavaScript one.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
yeah. So it sounds like we'll just need the two a microservice for that, which is fine. Because that I'll have to look at the flow diagram to see what we'll probably need to do is take the flow diagram and insert in there the exact ledger calls that we need to do. Because I did not go into that level of detail when we did the design document to make sure that the ledger is getting updated correctly. So, you know, in the sequence, we may, when we first get the, we may want to start like the ledger transaction when we go to push it to the NFT storage and then complete the transaction after we come back, or we just wait to the very tail end and then record it in the ledger type of thing and just do, you know, all the ledger transactions all at once.
Yeah, I think once all the pieces are working together, then we'll have to see like what challenges we are facing, and accordingly we have to build solution.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So Sasha, I still owe you the updates to the Helm charts.
Oh, no
On
worries, Steve.
yeah, I just gotten sidetracked with some deploy hub stuff. Getting caught up
Oh.
on that.
Don't worry, me too. I started by only been at my new job for a month, so it's keeping me busy.
There you go.
So no worries.
Yeah, but I think the groundwork is there, you know, but something when the charts get created, I think there's just a syntax error in one of the lower charts, like an indentation or something weird like that, that's causing issues. So
Okay, cool. No worries.
I will take a look at that. It's been a while since I've dived into that.
Hmm.
So
Well, let me know if I can help you on that.
yeah, once I figure out what it is, then we can kind of tag team and roll out the changes to all the repos.
Okay, cool.
On that note, once we get the Helm charts out there, I think we should replace the current version that's running on Azure with the new version. So we have a test area for everybody to work from and shared data. So what we'll end up doing is we'll basically throw all the stubs out there. So we have running, you know, microservices, even though they may not be doing exactly the functionality that they're supposed to do, but we know we have the infrastructure in place. We're doing the deployments, all that stuff. On the deployment front, Arvin, did you work with Brad McCoy to get the Argo sorted out?
We haven't started working on the Argo stuff yet.
Okay. All right. Well, let me let's first get the Helm charts fixed, and then once we have that, we can deploy manually. Then we'll be able to loop in the Argo, because it would be nice to have everything automated.
We had a session with Brad,
Yeah.
but he had to fix something on it, and it took him like 4 hours, and then he said he'd reconvene with all of us once he's got a gap. That was the last time.
Related to other requirement.
Arvin, can you reach out to Brad and just get a status on the Argo front?
Yeah, I will text you.
All right, cool. All right, that's the main stuff I had for today. Anybody else have anything that I may be missing?
Well, I just wanted to reiterate the stuff that I talked about earlier in that I'm taking it now that this is work I can get compensated for, but that we need to essentially create a design discussion site for the visual elements of the site. And I will essentially work together. I'm assuming that this isn't the sort of thing that requires security or secrecy around.
No, not at all.
Okay.
The more open, the better.
So I am essentially just going to use Google Blogs is a nice, open, and easy to edit place that we can easily create discussable content with, and I'll just throw out what I have onto there, and we can build from that.
Sounds good.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is it sounds like you have like one site for your support and information, and then one application. I would suggest unifying them and integrating the help directly into the content, such that you can have pop-outs and flyouts with help content in as much detail as you want throughout the entire interface. Would be better than having to flip back and forth between two URLs to accomplish tasks. So I'm going to take that as a mandate unless anyone has any pushback against that.
Yeah, right now the documentation is written in Markdown using
Sure.
Hugo, so it ends up being a static site, and it makes it easy for folks to update the documentation without having to get in and make any coding changes on
Well,
that front. So
yeah.
that's the way it is today.
Yeah, using Markdown as the basis for our content elements are fine. That's how my own blog works. And one of the nice things about Vercel and React is it's very easy to combine Markdown pages with content and even put in dynamic content and dynamic elements into the documentation, even if it's in Markdown.
Yeah.
I could point you to the links to that, but I would suggest having integrated help that pops up and drops down from content, and it can be authored in Markdown still, is a little better than having two different websites and two different activities you kind of flip between.
Yeah, if you could send a link on how that that works.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Anything else? All righty. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be in touch. And like I said, please drop your the sites that you like for like a homepage, landing page into the dev channel on Discord.
Yeah, I will actually oh yeah, also if you can email me a list of the people you want to be able to author content with in the blog, I'll set up accounts for people so that they can do page writing within the dev site.
Okay. Will do.
Great.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Cool. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.